There's a lot to unpack from the weekend. Oregon and Iowa with huge wins. USC and Texas with confounding losses. NFL stories all over the map. Tiki back from Carolina. I don't know if you're going to make the show today. I mean,
I can always make it when I'm here. It's hard on the road. It's difficult with connectivity, put it that way, in hotels.
How were the fans in Carolina? For those of you who missed it, Tiki did the game with Andrew in Carolina.
There was
Jets,
a lot of Jets fans.
I know there was. That I know.
I don't want to say they're apathetic because I don't think they are. I think they're in a wait-and-see mode. And based on how good their defense is going to be, because they've got talent on all three levels.
Yes, they do.
On the defensive side of the ball, Panthers fans better start showing up because Chris McCaffrey's back.
Oh, my
which makes things so much easier for whoever's at quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater didn't have that luxury for 13 of the games last year. But, I mean, I can't tell how many times Sam Darnold is about to get smashed by the Jets' defensive front, New York Jets' defensive front, which is good. Their defensive front four are pretty good.
Yeah, we knew they'd be pretty good.
About to get smashed, and he just finds Christian McCaffrey.
That helps.
Gets 5, 6, 7, 12 yards. I mean, it helps when you have a guy like that because it makes you look forward as a defense, and all of a sudden someone gets behind you. Robbie Anderson, one-on-one with the safety. It's an easy throw for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, it is.
And broke the game open in a sense. So
I mean, listen,
they're going to be good.
Yeah.
Not great, but they're going to be pretty good.
Well, listen, they might be better than the Falcons. The Falcons looked atrocious. We know Tampa's going to be really good. We'll get to Jameis, who had 5 touchdowns and no picks. He was flawless. What the hell happened to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers? But these are all things we'll get to. Let me say this, and I've gone through this a million times. You sit down, you watch a new quarterback. I had good vibes about Zach coming into the summer, coming into the season, right? And I was telling you before the show, I said to Santa as well, I tweeted this out, and this is no disrespect towards Sam, because I defended Sam more than most, and a lot of times, maybe erroneously for some, or maybe just too blindly for many. But if Sam Darnold's quarterback of the Jets yesterday with that pass rush, not to mention the 4 or 5 drops the Jets receivers had that actually hurt Zach Wilson, but if Sam is the quarterback with that pass rush, the Jets lose. Pick a number, 38-10, and Sam's got multiple picks and a fumble.
Yeah,
like he can't do. Yeah. I know it's a small sample. Zach Wilson's more talented. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
I don't know if there's any doubt about it, but
he's much more talented.
Last year, Sam Darnold under pressure was 43.7%. I remember seeing that stat. I was like, wow. 43.7%.
About completion percentage?
Completion percentage. Sam Darnold under pressure last year. Now, Zach Wilson in the beginning of the game was about 40% under pressure.
4 drops early.
Yeah, true. But it was, again, stats are stats. They are what they are. But as the game went on, he actually made it a respectable day for himself.
Yes, he did.
He pushed his completion percentage. Not that really matters, but he pushed it up a little bit higher. Ended up with almost 260 yards. He threw 2 touchdowns, which were great throws, both of them.
I thought the second one was better. The tight off window schedule. To Corey?
Yeah, of course. But the first one was off schedule. Yeah. He had to throw it 57 yards downfield.
Yep.
The second one was, get to your spot, hit your spot, let it go. Make sure it's in front enough because J.C. Horn is such a good corner, even though he's still a rookie.
Yep.
Put it exactly where only his receiver could catch it. And Zach Wilson resurrected what could have been a horrendous first game for himself and gives you some hope. The problem is their offensive line is bad.
It is rough. Listen, you just want to see these sparks. You want to see same thing watching Trevor Lawrence. I mean, we'll get to Justin Fields, who played a little bit. Trey Lance. Like, you just need to see a level of comfort, a level of instinct. Certainly, the requisite talent. Can you make the throw? Can you move the pocket? Do you sense when the pocket collapses? Move up. I mean, create a pocket. These are things that we're all watching for all the young kids. And at least from my count, I didn't think we were going to win this game, but to see Wilson do his thing, I felt pretty good. I also felt very good for David Culley. You have to feel. I mean, nobody's going to really talk about this game, but we mocked the Texans incessantly this whole offseason.
It was hard not to, though.
I agree. Mocked them. They came out, and they just punked the Jaguars. So I hope Coach Culley enjoys this. This appears to be maybe 1 or 2 off. There's not many more coming down the pike in terms of wins. Congrats to Coach Culley. Good man, good win.
We also have to give respect to Rod Taylor, who, I mean, let's face it. He's still spry for a 33 years old?
Because he never plays. He's true. But he's got the body of a 25-year-old.
It's a great point. He plays 2 or 3 downs, 2 or 3 games, and then he's done for a season.
He gets a new contract somewhere else. It's the best job in the world.
But he made some throws.
Yeah.
He kept some plays alive. He led that team in a great fashion. So I mean, Green Bay probably would have wanted Tyrod Taylor than Aaron Rodgers on Sunday.
I know. Listen, what in the world? Now, let's get to this. And the other things, amazingly, the Eagles are the only team in the NFC East with a win. We mentioned Jameis going bonkers. We'll get to him more thoroughly coming up. The Titans looked absolutely anemic with Arthur Smith now coaching in Atlanta. The Titans might have a little something to worry about. But see, the thing that bothered me about Aaron Rodgers, and we should learn by now, let's not overly react to week one, all right? But it is interesting how indifferent, how apathetic, how detached. Forget about the inefficiency. The 2 throws he made, the picks, were some of the worst throws I've ever seen Aaron Rodgers make in his life. But this is a guy who was like in the jungles of Costa Rica this summer, flirting with the Jeopardy job. Up until a week ago, he was still talking about the fracture within the franchise. Aaron Rodgers looked awful. And worst of all, Aaron Rodgers looked as if he didn't care.
Yeah, no, that was the worst part about it. It was the apathy, the word you used to start this, BT. He looked like he didn't care. And for us to have pretended like he could spend this whole offseason at odds with the Green Bay Packers, not in the building, not interacting with anybody, not even giving the indication that he's going to be back until the season's right around the corner. And obviously he shows up and he does the right thing, so to speak. But there's chemistry that's built by having an idea of who your teammates are going to be, who they are, right? And understanding that everybody's on the same page. None of that was ever established with the Green Bay Packers before training camp started. And then once training camp started, there's no grind anymore, right? There used to be a grind in training camp. And this isn't a knock on how they've dumbed down or simplified training camps, but you'd go into training camp back in the 90s and early 2000s, and you knew you were in for a month of hell, right? It's you get up in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, you have a meeting, have breakfast, and all of a sudden you're on the field in pads before it's really hot, but you can feel it just getting hot as the day goes on, and before you know it, it's just like, man, I'm shot. And then you have a 3-hour break and you're back out on the field again, hitting and pounding each other. And the reason I bring that up is because over like 2.5 weeks or so, you start to come together, right? Because it's a grind. It's a collective grind. And nowadays, Aaron Rodgers isn't around all offseason. Nobody even trusts that he's going to be around. You get to training camp, and it's a cakewalk. You know what I mean? You playing in the preseason? No, I'm not going to play in the preseason. Yeah, you going to practice today? Yeah, I'm going to throw the ball around a little bit. Yeah, I'll take all the first team drills. Jordan Love, you can get the other ones. Right? There was never that bonding. It felt like, at least from the outside looking in. Maybe I'm wrong, but at least that's what it looked like on week one.
I don't think you're wrong. Season. I think that's exactly the read that we should have.
Like. And so
looked like he just parachuted in, like it wasn't his number one priority.
That's right. And
to be the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, and it showed.
And you can be great. You can be the greatest that there ever was. You can never, to use your term, parachute in and think it's just going to work.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like was going on with the Green Bay Packers. I know the Saints are good.
They're good.
They got
that was
defense.
disgusting.
They got a good defense. They got a good offensive line. Jameis looked good. They didn't make no mistakes for Jameis Winston. You got to love that,
Zero.
Right? But they're not 35 points better than the Green Bay
nobody
Packers.
scored fewer points than the Packers in week one. 38-3.
Yeah.
They got absolutely
and by the way,
punked.
It's not like Jameis Winston went bananas.
No, I know. He only had a $140.
And threw for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah. Well, in some ways, isn't that more encouraging? Because if he sliced you up for 540, you might be like, well, we've got issues everywhere.
Yes.
Only a $140, kind of the circumstances, field position. By the way, nobody's had 5 touchdowns in NFL history and thrown for as few yards, a $140 as Jameis Winston threw for. Now, for certain franchises, there should be a little more urgency.
Yep.
If you lose a certain way, I could see why there'd be amplified reactions in certain cities today. Like if I'm a Browns fan, and we'll get to that later as well, but if I'm a Browns fan, I'm sitting there saying, man, I know Baker's good, and I know Baker's going to get us wins, but if Baker's got to go out and get the win to get that bag of money, it doesn't have to be Mahomes, but he's got to be better than that ridiculous pick he threw at the end of the game.
Yep.
So that's a point of contention for Browns fans. But if I'm a Packers fan, I don't know if I can just automatically push this aside and say, we still got Rodgers, we're good. Check out what went down in the NFC West yesterday. Check out the Cardinals went across the country and crushed the Titans. Right. Stafford is 10 times better than Goff. And the 49ers, that was a weird finish. Yeah. But they were thumping the Lions before something wacky happened.
They were in complete control over that game.
Correct.
Right. So, give Dan Campbell some credit because we like Dan Campbell.
Yeah. And they fought.
Because they fought.
They fought.
That's right. Look, they're vastly inferior to almost any team they're going to play this year.
They are.
But for them to score 33 points and to fight their way back into the game in a sense.
No, they were down one score, more than a sense.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So back into the game, give them some credit.
Yes.
But your point is well taken.
They might play road games, the Packers. That's we're talking about the Packers. Forget the Packers.
That's right.
They should be worried today because the NFC West is going to be as good as we thought.
That's right.
Those teams are good.
That's right. And
they're not going to win 13 games again necessarily.
You're actually right. And so, look, Chicago is what it is. Detroit is what it is. But it's almost, you want to you can't even guarantee them the division at this point. The Vikings are the Vikings.
Vikings didn't look too good.
No, true. But whatever. That's my point. Like, I want to guarantee them the division, the Green Bay Packers. Like, all right, you guys are in the postseason no matter what you do. But I don't even know if you can say that. Teams get better as the season goes on. Right? So, maybe this was an outlier for those teams as well. For Minnesota, Charlie checked down over there. 73% completion percentage.
There you go. Move the sticks.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah, so nothing is guaranteed with this Green Bay Packers team. And if they needed a wake-up call from the nonsense that filled their offseason and everybody thought that it would just go away because Aaron Rodgers is their quarterback, their eyes are open right now.
And that's the point, because I remember that you and I said many times during the summer, okay, this thing at least temporarily, we'll smooth it over, we'll move on. Rodgers will comport himself like a pro because he's a pro.
Yep.
But the first time there's adversity, like when there's adversity, whether it's a relationship at work, whether it's a marriage that is, on the rocks, when things start to go a little awry, that's when the old issues tend to surface. And if there's not a foundation of trust and respect, which, let's face it, there's no way that there's trust and respect, at least going in the direction from Rodgers to them.
Yeah.
Let's dot.
Yeah, I agree.
Worth watching.
It's very much worth watching. But for the Saints, and just a quick one to close it out.
Oh yeah, those guys. They won 35-3, 38-3.
Sean, this might be, and I read this somewhere, and I think we mentioned this earlier because of Jameis Winston trying to be fixed by Bruce Arians, and then ultimately now trying to be fixed by Sean Payton. If Jameis Winston plays this well, and I'm not talking about 5 touchdowns, but just mistake-free, just completely in command. Like, I understand this. I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm not trying to throw for 350 yards because I don't need to throw for 350 yards.
Even though we will a ton.
Exactly. But we have a good defense. We have a good offensive line, which allows our run game to excel. They run for 170-something yards in the game. So if Sean Payton can get Jameis Winston to be like this all season long, it might be his greatest job ever. Right? Drew Brees was elite. Right, Drew Brees and Sean Payton kind of just were a good marriage because they both had this super high upside. Jameis Winston has some upside, but there's a big downside as well.
Yep.
If he coaches that out of Jameis Winston and they play like this for the entirety of the season, Sean Payton could be coach of the year.
It could be,
seriously,
because that defense is not going to, it's not going to get stifled.
Just be decent
offense.
Injury.
Yeah,
their defense is going to be great.
And the thing, as much as Jameis, no matter what Jameis does for the next 10 years, his resume is never going to mirror Drew Brees's in terms of totality of accomplishment, in terms of stats. Could he win more than one championship? Sure, he could. But the yards, the touchdowns, I don't anticipate that. But what I do anticipate on a week-to-week basis this year is that the Saints finally have something they haven't had for at least 3 years. The threat to just air it out, man.
That's right. To go long, deep, long, 40-yard pass, 60-yard pass. Drew Brees didn't do that. He was accurate. He was efficient. He didn't make mistakes, but there was a piece of it missing.
Yes.
It's there now, and especially if Jameis Winston can take that advice. It's not about the result. It's about the decision. Make the right decision. He made all the right decisions in this game. It's one of the reasons that they blew out the Green Bay Packers. The other one is what we talked about before. They're just not right.
Wow. Okay. Right. So again, dot pertaining to the Packers. We will be watching very intently. Basically every second we'll be in on that what could be an interesting year in Green Bay.